Hi there, welcome back to the Photography Shift. So pleased that you've stuck with us. I can't believe we're on the 11th episode and it's the penultimate episode of this series. We started the Photography Shift back in April and it's been an amazing series. I've really loved speaking to all these inspirational and motivational women. We started off with Claire Bannister. She was our first guest. And today's guest is Sam Pilling from Bite Me Media. I'm really excited that she's here. I think you'll find this a really interesting conversation and slightly different take on things as well. So I urge you to listen all the way to the end. And in the meantime, please enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the Photography Shift. I think most of us have experienced a moment when we realise that being good at what we do isn't quite enough. We also have to find a way to be seen, and for many business owners, that's a significant shift, moving from simply doing the work to sharing it with the world. Today's guest knows a thing or two about helping people navigate that journey. I'm delighted to be joined by Sam Pilling, founder of Bite Me Marketing. With more than 2 decades of marketing experience, Sam helps business owners connect with the right audience and grow their visibility in a way that feels both effective and authentic. What I particularly love about Sam's approach is that she understands marketing isn't just about algorithms, adverts, or social media tactics. It's about people, confidence, and communication. So today we'll be chatting about visibility, the challenges of putting ourselves out there, and some of the shifts that have shaped Sam's own career and perspective along the way. So, Sam, it's really lovely to have you here and welcome to the Photography Shift.
Hi Liz, thank you very much for having me.
I'd love it if you might share a little bit more about your journey with Bite Me and your journey in marketing generally, just so we can kind of get a little flavour of where you've come from.
Yeah, of course. I'm actually celebrating my 30th year this
Oh,
year.
wow,
I've
congratulations.
got the wrinkles and the war wounds and the scars to prove it. And that was, I started off in TV actually at Channel 5 in their pre-launch team and then moved into digital 26, 27 years ago. But I've bought press outdoor. I've worked in events marketing, but then landed on um, meta advertising 14 years ago and set myself up, launched Bite Me Marketing. At the time, because I felt like meta advertising, I came from TV, which you have to have like a telephone number in terms of a budget. It's big numbers. And I loved how at the time it really leveled the playing field and it got me really excited about advertising and marketing again. And so 12, 14 years ago, I launched Bite Me Marketing to work with established coaches and course creators to amplify their brands, get more leads, and to make more money. Hey, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't need any more of money, does he?
It has made a huge difference to businesses, and I think suddenly to have this the social media where you can reach so many more people. I started my business after the social media revolution, really, so I've never kind of had to run a business without that, and I can't really imagine not having that kind of tech. It must have been incredibly difficult. And now, as you say, I mean, really important to level the playing field for people because the budgets were for having television advertising would have been out of most people's reach.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm very lucky to have been involved in social media. I mean, I got into social media in a career wise in 2002, so 2 years before Facebook was even invented. And obviously, it was very early. We were trying to work out how people were using it, what they were using it for, and we were actually going out to. I was working at like handbag.com, which I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember a long time ago. It was like the first, back when we used portals, it was the first and biggest portal for women in the UK. And we were going out and educating big brands like FMCGs, household name brands, on how people were using the internet to connect, find communities, find likewise people. And then obviously, at the time we were out there saying this is going to be a big thing, and people were like, nah, new media, it's not that important. I mean, now look at it. It's in most of our lives. I think 3.6 billion people use a Meta product. I mean, it's just over a third of the world's population uses social
It's
media.
quite
It's crazy.
it's quite scary in a way for so many people to be using one company's product. I mean, it's
Yeah. I'm not here to defend them.
no, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, we're obviously, so attracted to what they're offering, and they're offering things that are really important for us, especially as business owners. I mean, as a photographer, I mean, a lot of my work is around people using social media for marketing their businesses. And without that, even just with websites, I mean, my business would probably be a lot smaller because it's kind of feeding this kind of ever hungry monster all the time because we've got to be
Yeah, it's
posting
a
a
great
lot.
that I mean, there are pros and cons. There are definitely pros and cons to it. And obviously we're now seeing um, different governments putting restrictions in place for under 16s with our youth and their access to social media. Australia putting a ban in place, although I was reading a very interesting study about how actually they're still using it even though the government have banned it, so I'm not sure what an impact that has had. So obviously there are pros and cons. We have to consider our mental health in terms of how we receive this content, etc. What we do
Yeah.
with it is very difficult. Obviously it's in our face, it's very addictive, it's designed to be addictive. Um, but at the same time, and not defending any particular platform, it has given a lot of small businesses the ability to get their products out that they would never have had before. And whilst we can jump on and criticize these platforms, it's still human beings behind there that are the negativity on these platforms, and it is still human beings that we can reach out and that we can advertise our products to. So
But it's very interesting. But I want to dive into the questions now, and I'd be really interested to know your take on these. Um, so the first thing I want to ask you about is because I loved your website, by the way. It it's a very different website from a lot of businesses I've seen, and actually it really works obviously because it's very memorable. And the reason I say that is I recommend everyone to go onto this website because the photographs are very individual. Let's put it that way. I love them, um, especially the burger shot. And I love your sort of Marie Antoinette picture as well. So anyone listening to this, please go onto the website and take a look. So, but what I wanted to ask it was, at what point in your growth did you realize your visual presence needed to evolve and your visuals weren't actually matching the level of your work? But I ask other people this question, and I'm expecting quite a different answer from you because your visuals are so out there. So I'm really interested to know what you're going to respond to this.
that's a really good question. So if you do go to my website, it's very obvious that I use a mixture of naturalist. When I say naturalistic, they're photo shoots, so they are professional photo shoots, along with what is very, very obviously AI generated. And they are almost caricatures of me. So as you say, there is me as Marie Antoinette. There is me skydiving, although in my defense, I have skydived. There is me as like a World War II, um, it's gone out of my head. You know, the ladies that moved the things around on the in the war planning bunkers, and they
Oh,
would move the
yeah.
ships around,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there is like a carrier pigeon or so there's a lot of fun on there, and I'm really clear that I am poking fun at myself and it's a caricature of me. But then alongside it is when I'm talking about myself, they are photos of me. They are general, they are professional photo shoots of me. Um, I've always I've always believed, well, why? Why have I done this? Well, I've always liked to have some humor in my brand. My brand is Bite Me Marketing, so from the start, I don't take myself too seriously, and I want to attract clients that are in that same kind of, yeah, we're going to work hard. We're going to be in the trenches, shoulder to shoulder. We're going to obsess about your ad results. We're going to get you the results, but we can have some fun along the way working with me. I'm not the person that will send you the 8 page Excel spreadsheet and analytics, and we're going to, that's just not how I work. I'm far more kind of creative and I suppose intuitive in how we do the marketing. And yeah, of course, I'm looking at the stats and I'm looking at the results, but the way I work with my clients is more like that. I've sent these documents to my clients in the past, and I know for a fact they've never opened them. So for me, having that kind of fun and that kind of personality on the website is a clear indicator to my clients that either you're filtered in and you want to have some fun, or you're filtered out. If you want the evil genius in the science lab with the big spreadsheets and the coming back with the analytics down to a finer point, I'm probably not the person that you want to work with. So for both of us, it makes sense for us not to work with each other.
Sorry,
Um,
I've just got this vision of somebody from a Bond movie with the cat.
I actually have done me as AI as that Bond villain as well, but that's on my social. I've kind of, as I say, they're caricatures, and we can have fun around them. Um, but going back to your initial question, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a business to consumer brand or you're a business to business brand. It doesn't really matter actually what you're selling. Humans still buy humans, and we are looking for those triggers that subconsciously we kind of go, yeah, this person is for me. This is who I, especially in service-led businesses, even more so in that. This is my person. This is the person I want with me, shoulder to shoulder with me, working on my ads. So I think your websites have to, or whatever, it doesn't have to be online. It can be your leaflets, it can be your merchandise, it can be your lumpy mail, your direct mail that's going out in the post. You should be leaning into your personality because that is the thing that's going to differentiate you, and that is going to attract the good clients as much as it's going to repel the pain in the ass clients that you do not work with and are better off working with someone else because they're going to be a better match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned to you when I spoke to you earlier about how when I saw your pictures, they made me think of this American artist called Cindy Sherman. And she takes the mickey out of herself all the time by dressing up as different characters. Um, I think her work kind of dates back to the 1970s, but certainly a lot of stuff in the 80s where she's like a movie starlet, or she's, Marie Antoinette, I know, was one of them. She did a big exhibition in London a few years ago, but I mean, it really was reminiscent of that and very, very creative. And I absolutely adored it, actually. Um, I'm going to jump into another question here because I think it's very related to what you're saying. Um, so, as your specialty is social media marketing, I'd love to know what you say to entrepreneurs when they're planning their brand shoot regarding their messaging, because you've touched on that just now, and I'd kind of like to delve into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so what I love to do is I kind of approach someone's business a little bit like an onion and the layers of the onion skin. So, of course, the first thing we find out is what they actually do. But your end buyers, your consumers, your buyers don't actually buy what you do. They buy the transformation you bring and they buy the experience that they have with you. So for me and my clients are all in the coaches and course creation space. So their personal brand is a massive selling point for them. It's about kind of like taking away those layers of the onion skin to kind of work out what makes them different, what they actually deliver, what transformation they bring, what kind of experience they bring. And that then informs into everything from, I mean, it's all messaging, whether it's visual messaging through your photography or messaging through the written word, it's all messaging. So that's exactly how we kind of approach it. It's a series of a lot of questions where we just unpick and unpick and unpick and unravel and unravel and unravel until they will say something and I'll go, that's it. That's the gold. That's the gold. That's the pearl that we need to be focusing in on. And that then informs everything else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so important that we make sure that we understand sort of like the feelings and stuff that want to be conveyed, and understand, what we want our clients, so our clients' clients in a way to feel. So I love that. And I'm just wondering, sort of, when you get to that, you've kind of done your shoots and everything, and I'm just wondering how you feel your visual identity has influenced the way actually people perceive your authority. Um, does it influence perhaps the way they pay you?
I'm actually going to speak about one of my clients. I'm not going to name their name,
Yeah,
but she has had a brand up level this year, shall we say, on not necessarily on her branding materials in terms of her logos or her fonts or her colors, or when people normally think about branding, the first thing they go to is, oh, the branding is the logo, it's the colors, it's the fonts, it's what my website looks like. But in terms of she's up leveled her personal photography, like the brand shoots that she's had, and she brought in, she was already working with a stylist, but she kind of took that to the next level. So she's brought in a stylist to dress her for the brand shoots. They really thought around the color psychology and looked at, first of all, the colors that suited her, that she would look good in, but also the colors that really exuded kind of what she stood for and what she wanted to kind of put forward to her audience, to her clients, and the locations, and even down to the poses. And so she's up leveled across the board, and we have seen tangible results in the money that it is bringing in for her business. Ultimately, we've seen not just the number of people that are signing up for her masterclasses and her, her webinars, her lives that she's doing, not just the number of people at the, those kind of like softer stats, the people that are following her, the people liking her, the people that are engaging, but actually those that she's attracting into her world are at a different level in their business and are willing to invest more in their business. I don't want to say they're more serious business owners, but they are willing to invest more in their business for her to coach them. And she's put her flag in the sand, as in, your mentor so far has taken you to this stage. I'm going to be the mentor that takes you to the next stage. And that is through her visual branding, through the photography. And because I've been working with her for a couple of years and I've seen that change in her visual branding, I'm seeing the tangible results, and it's having an impact on her ads, it's having an impact on her leads, and it's having an impact on her sales. So it's very, very important.
yeah. I mean, I've seen that with my clients too, and I think that without that alignment, there's going to be issues, and it's going to confuse people.
Yeah.
And when people are confused, they don't buy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, that's a really interesting story, and it's good to hear because I think it gives people a kind of answer to what impacts their brand,
Now,
and visuals
yeah,
do.
I'm not necessarily saying that, if it is, there are brands that are not for me. There are personal brands that are not for me. There's coaches that I look at and
Yeah,
th it doesn't resonate with me personally. um those brands tend to be like the high luxury, the personal jet, the or private jet, the buy the sports car. Those are not brands that I personally am attracted to. So
yeah,
again, it's that clear indicator of who you want in your tribe, who you want to bring to your tribe. So I'm not saying everybody should up level. I'm not saying
no,
everybody should have those photo shoots. It has to be congruent with, as you say, kind of like what you're doing and what you're selling and where you want to be positioned.
yeah.
Um, but it is about leaning into the space that you want to take up.
It's about knowing who your ideal client is, and that's the number one area to know before anything, who you want to attract. And as you say, you're not attracted to those brands and you're not their ideal client, and that's fine because we all have our own tribe of people we want to attract and who are attracted to us too. Um, and it's all just about making that all kind of the smooth alignment. Um, Certainly, you don't want to attract everyone. They might have the money to buy from you, but it doesn't mean you're comfortable working with them, or that they're your people, as it were. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we get that messaging really correct. Um, so I'm just wondering, um, when you think about your own brand shoot experience, and obviously your brand shoots been sounds like fantastic fun and amazingly creative, and also you've brought AI into this as well. But for most people, just the brand experience, I just wondered what you would say to them about preparing for theirs, and if you had like just a piece of practical advice that someone should think about before the brand shoot, or actually even on the day itself, depending on what your point of view is.
I'm gonna have a confession here. I'm probably the last person to ask on my own ones. Um, Now this has worked for me in the past, but I place a lot of trust in the photographer, and I was about to swear, I'm probably a bit of a nightmare on a photo shoot because a lot of the brand photographers, and I've probably worked over the years with maybe three or four, in the 12 plus years that I've had my business, probably I've used three or four different photographers for my own brand shoots. Um, I do place a lot of trust in the photographer because I trust that they know their craft better than ever than I will. And so I will quite often I'll go to them with a list of things that I don't want, which is a nightmare. I hate it when my clients send me stuff. Here's a list of stuff I don't want. I'm like, oh God, well, what do you want? So I don't know I'm the right person to answer that question because normally I'm like, okay, this is my brand. It's a little bit out there. It's a bit cheeky. It's a bit irreverent. I don't take myself seriously. I take your business seriously, and as I say, I'm quite often the words that I kind of use, in fact, one of the photos I used recently was me doing a nuclear rush. It was like a tough mudder, and it was me literally lying in mud up to here underneath a cage, like crawling through something. And I was like, that is a good, I'm going to put that on my website because that is exactly what I do with my clients. But I tend to explain to my photographers, right, this is my brand. Please don't have me. I have got these photos that I've had taken in the past, but please don't have me sat at a laptop in an office. Please don't have me sat on a phone like this. Please don't have me um in a typical kind of office environment because that's not my brand. But if you want to do something a little bit weird and a little bit crazy, and if you've found a venue that you've been waiting for a quirky client to go and take photographs, I'm all in. Let's go and see what happens and let's go and have some fun. And sometimes the photos come out fantastic. Sometimes I look at them and go, my fault. Not a great brief.
Do you know what though? That is really refreshing because actually I think there's too much of this sort of leaning back on the old standard. Um, and yeah, we all do it, and that's clients kind of like that because it feels safe and it feels reliable and stuff. But I think there is something to be said for thinking out of the box, thinking about something that's slightly a bit more exciting because at the end of the day, why are you doing the photos? You're doing them because you want to get noticed by the right people. So they have to have the right messaging and they also need to be scroll stopping.
Yeah.
You need to be noticed for, and whatever your USP is, needs to be seen. So even though I know you're sort of saying, "Oh, I'm not the person to ask," actually, I think that was a really good answer because it's not always it's not always the going to be the same answer. Preparing your clothes, making sure you've got the props right, the right location. They're all really important, but equally, sometimes we have to say, actually, just think laterally, move away from the norm. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
And maybe take some opportunity when you're doing other stuff, take some opportunities. I mean, how often am I going to be in mud? Actually, knowing me, quite often. My eyeballs in mud. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But when part of our brand, obviously we have the brand shoots that are really kind of key to our businesses, but there are also so much stuff behind the scenes that we can include in our lives, and people are really interested in who we are, not just like what we do and but they're interested in like what happens the rest of the time when we're not um, sat in front of the computer or whatever it is we might do for business. They want to know our personalities and our personal quirks, and yeah, if they're going to work with us, they need to know us. So
100%. 100%. Um, I actually went and gave a talk at Matt Hall's mastermind exactly a week ago, and it was exactly what I was saying there, that a lot of people look at marketing as being like a one night stand and it's a race to get someone to buy from you. Actually, the best performing marketing is like a long-term relationship. And it is about considering that there are micro steps before they get to that purchasing decision. And instinctively, we are looking for connection and we are looking for tribe and we are looking for not necessarily someone, we want to work with someone that's a step ahead of us. We want to work with someone that has the answers, but we also do want to see the personality. And there are so many stats around this. I could reel off all the stats about personal brand over company brand. And if you look at Richard Branson's LinkedIn, how many people follow him against how many people follow Virgin Media and follow Virgin as a whole, not just Virgin Media, Virgin Atlantic, etc. But we're buying anything is always a risk. And so we're
yeah,
looking for those subconsciously, we're looking for those intangibles that trigger that we can trust that person, that we can trust that brand, and therefore there needs to be a bit of personality in there. There has to.
yeah,
Now that
yeah,
personality doesn't have to be crazy and wild and out there. If
yeah,
you're an accountant, do I want a crazy and out there wild accountant? No, probably not. No, I don't. Do I want a surgeon that's gonna come skydiving in and land with a scalpel? No, of course I don't. So it depends on what you're selling and it depends on what you're doing. Personality can be very straight, very sensible.
yeah.
Lean into it.
No,
Take,
absolutely. We have to be who we
yeah,
are. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So, Sam, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today. So, I think one of the things I've taken from the conversation is visibility doesn't have to mean being someone you're not. It can simply mean finding confidence to share your message, your expertise, and the value that you bring in the way that feels authentic to you. So, thanks so much for sharing your experiences and your insights.
No, it's been great. Really enjoyed it, Liz.
Um, so, if you'd like to get in touch with Sam, you're going to find all her details next to her interview on my website and in the socials relating to this interview. And please do kind of follow her and get in touch with her. And thanks again for joining me on the photography shift, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks, Sam.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Wow. I mean, that was a really amazing interview. And the reason that I think it was so good is because Sam's got a really different take on how she looks at things like photography. You only have to go to her website to kind of see kind of the quirkiness and the humor that she goes into her brand photography with. And I really love that. It's taking something and changing it, and actually really really works. And I urge you all to go and look at her website. I think I said that in the interview as well, because it's it gives you some real inspiration on how you don't have to follow the norm. You can actually think about your own personality and think about you know the things that you really want to see when you're looking at websites. So yeah, check that out, and I hope you've enjoyed the interview as much as I have. And please do make sure you look, if you haven't seen the old interviews, go back and have a look, because there's some amazing, interesting insights and gems from all of those women who I've spoken to. We've got one more interview to come. So make sure that you tune in next week as well, because that'll be the final interview, and I know it's going to be brilliant. So don't miss it.